And thanks so much to all of you for being here. We also just went live on YouTube. So for those of you who can't join us on Zoom, or maybe you have other things you need to do with Zoom this morning, feel free to listen in on YouTube. And of course, we're recording this session, so you can always go back and take a look at it later. But we're expecting around 300 folks today, so we'll let everyone get logged in, and we're looking forward to see everyone. Thanks. Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our fall convocation for 2021. Go ahead and keep posting your welcomes in the chat. We're happy to have you here with us this morning. For those of you that are on YouTube, thank you for joining us as well. And I'm really looking forward to this time together with us this morning, because as you know, we've had a time of it together, haven't we? We have had some really challenging times, and I even look for words that are accurate in terms of where we sit now. But this is what I would like to say. When we thought about doing our fall convocation this morning, we really thought about the theme for the year. And as you know, we've had different themes in different years, and it really came down to We Are Mesa. It's really just as simple as that for me as your president to say, because I know that collectively, all of us individually and together have been focused on what we know is best in terms of creating the conditions that matter for our students to be successful in whatever way that has been. And whether you have been on campus for this entire time, or you have been trying to do the best you can from Zoom, as I've said many times, in your bedroom, with people running in and out. Goodness knows many of you have seen my grandchildren running in and out of the space that I was using in my home. But we find ourselves again just hovering over that place of ambiguity, of wanting to keep everybody safe and wanting to get back to campus. And while it's not as simple as those two things, it is a simple premise that we really want everyone to be safe. And so as we think about this on-road, this on-ramp to getting back to campus, we want to work with all of you directly and collectively to make sure that we're meeting the needs of our students as we get back onto our campus. I also have been reflecting on the last year and a half and how difficult it can be after a year and a half to think about the ways that we interact with each other. And as you know, and as I'm sure many people can tell you, I'm sure Kelsey Graham can tell us that when you do something for 3 weeks, like exercise, that you create a behavior. Imagine after a year and a half, all the behaviors that we've created. They're very different than the ones we had when we were in March of 2020. So it's going to take a minute. It's going to take a minute for us to feel comfortable on campus around other human beings. It's going to take a minute for us to maybe stay online more than we thought we would ever do, because you've discovered that that is the kind of teaching that you like to do and your students are engaged in it. But it's going to take all of us a minute to figure this out. And I will be here for as long as those minutes take so that we can safely get back here together. I do want to say that I have also reflected on my own privilege in this, that I have the privilege to have a roof over my head, to have a constant paycheck, and to have the kinds of hierarchical needs that human beings need. And not everyone has enjoyed that. So as we think about coming back to campus, we also need to think about that we are creating spaces that students need to be able to study and transform their lives. So as we move forward, as Mesa, as this collective, I really look forward to working with all of you, to hearing from you what your needs might be, to challenging us to figure out what these new behaviors look like, and to give it a minute for all of us to get back, to do what we're doing from home, to do what we're doing from whatever space we're using. And at the end of the day, engaging our students and creating those sort of learning environments that are so important for all of our students. So I thank you for all of your hard work over the last year. I thank you for the work that's ahead of us. And I just want you to know that we're working double time and triple time to make sure that we're considering all of the kinds of things that all of you need to be on our campus. We've been able to accomplish much, and you'll hear about some of that today. And if we could go ahead and move on to our agenda for our day. And so I will wait a minute until the slide advances to our agenda. So as you know, we had our all college convocation welcome from the district. And then we are going to hear from our governance presidents today, updates from our vice presidents. And then, as you know, we've spent the last 2 years in doing Mesa 2030. And so now we need to think about what the roadmap looks like to undertake that work. It may feel a little weird to you because there's so much urgency ahead in terms of the work we're doing right now. But I think all of us know that the foundation that we set in Mesa 2030 is a beautiful roadmap for the college. And so we're dealing with the urgent and the important. We also need to think about short and long-term ways for us to manifest all of those wonderful dreams that we have in the Mesa 2030 plan. We'll end up, as we always do, with the Olympian Spirit Awards, and we hope to be able to get you out of here crisply at 11 o'clock, because we know sitting on Zoom can be difficult sometimes for a bit. And so we will try to get people moving and having some activities. So with that, I am going to go ahead and turn this over to President of the Academic Senate, John Crescetti. John?
Thank you, President Luster. I want to welcome everyone to the new academic year. And by everyone, I mean faculty, classified professionals, our administrators, and of course, our students. All of us have labored through extraordinary difficulties since March 2020. I wish that I could say that the difficulties we have faced are past us, but unfortunately they're not. And furthermore, there's an unforeseen future. We're not exactly sure what challenges will face us in the coming year or coming years. Despite all our challenges, however, all of us have worked with dedication and skill. I beg you, though, please take care of yourselves. I know that all of us are laboring under extraordinary stress and anxiety about the future at Mesa. Take time to take care of yourselves first, please. Take some time to spend with your family, your loved ones. Take some time for a walk in the park, or to just go to have an ice cream cone with your child, or to a restaurant with your significant other. Do something to relieve that stress. Better yet, reconnect with colleagues, whether it's a phone call, a Zoom conference, or if you feel comfortable, meet face-to-face in an open-air cafe or a park, because your colleagues are the ones who really know what you're talking about, what you're undergoing, the stresses and anxieties that are afflicting you. Please take that time, because if we, all of us, faculty, classified staff, administrators, students, all of us, if we are not at 100%, we are not going to serve ourselves or others or the community at large as well as we might. Thank you, and please have a great fall semester. And I'll pass it over to Eva Perel, President of the Classified Senate.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So this morning I was getting dressed, and as I was trying to fit into my work pants, I was thinking about the upcoming semester. And I realized this might be the perfect metaphor. As I'm trying to face this challenge of fitting into my work pants, it reminds me of how we're all trying to face new challenges. With the start of every new semester, it's exciting to start fresh, and it's also intimidating to think about all the work that we want to accomplish over the next 16 weeks. In Classified Senate, we try to do a lot of things. We want to facilitate participation in governance and professional learning. We want to raise funds for scholarships, and we want to build a community of collaboration and recognition. And of course, we all want to fit into our pre-pandemic clothes. So as we've been buttoning up for the upcoming semester, I've felt intimidated by the challenges that we will all face. But I've also felt inspired because right now we have an opportunity to try new ways of fitting into our challenges. And if I can fit into my work pants this morning, I think we can all fit into the challenges that lie ahead. And as I've been talking to the new people involved in Classified Senate, and I've been hearing the enthusiasm of our returning members, I realize that the support we provide to each other is what helps us overcome these challenges. And that's one of the beautiful things about our community. It's like the belt that I put on with my pants this morning, because it's always nice to have a little extra support. And we know that the support is always there when you need it. So I think it's time for me to zip it. I've stretched the pants metaphor as far as it will go. Have a great semester, and I'll pass it to Natalia.
Thank you. Greetings and salutations. My name is Natalia Trin, President of Associate Student Government, and I'm humbled to be speaking here. It is my greatest pleasure to welcome all community members of San Diego Mesa College. Today, I want to recognize the immense honor it is working alongside you, the hardworking faculty and classified professionals that are the strong backbone of this positive and thriving community. I sincerely thank you for all the countless of hours of effort you have devoted towards our continued growth and our shared visions of improvement. I stand before you all as a proud Asian American neurobiology major. I hope to show students that anything is possible here at San Diego Mesa College, which is why I want to encourage more students to apply for an associate student position, get involved with organizations such as Outreach and the Peer Navigators, or join a committee such as the Asian Pacific Islander American Committee or the Veterans Advisory Committee in order to speak up for our fellow classmates and show them that we are here to support them. Though you may have heard this many times, I wish we could all be back on campus instead of online. Yet I'm amazed by how we continue to find ways to assist our students in the best way possible. My goal for this year is to be the example for other schools by pushing new limits to not only impress our school district, but to also shock the whole world. As Lin-Manuel once said, history has its eyes on you. So, as we look forward to our upcoming fall semester, I would like you all to keep in mind what kind of impact you would like to leave this school with and the life lessons you'll keep with you. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I believe I am next.
Yes, thank you, Isabel. Dr. O'Connor, I just wanted to thank Natalia really quick. Beautifully said. And Dr. O'Connor, take us away.
Thank you. And I want to thank Natalia, Eva, John, and you, Dr. Luster. We are off to a great start because indeed we are Mesa. and just the talent and the collaboration and the motivation that I found in all the words that have been said since our Mesa Convocation started get me going. So thank you for having such wonderful colleagues. We do have challenges, but we have proven throughout the year and a half and beyond that, that we can get together collaboratively in the best spirit. And what you're going to see through the instruction presentation is a little bit of that. Just a few minutes, but I'll show you some highlights of the great work that faculty, classified professionals, as well as administrators in instruction and in collaboration with the rest of the campus have achieved. I didn't think of a better way to start to show you a great picture that is now hanging in the LRC. Last year, the Hispanic Serving Institution director, along with Dr. Leticia Lopez, along with Alessandra Moctezuma and a variety of other people, engaged in a beautiful project to coordinate with local artists and produce work that is reflective of the many cultures represented on our campus community. And you will see these beautiful pieces of art throughout the campus once you come back. Okay, next. Well, I am excited. I'm actually thrilled to welcome some of our new colleagues that you can see here. First, Dr. Pearl Lee, who is the new Dean of Social Behavioral Sciences and Multicultural Studies. Dr. Paloma Vargas, who is the new Dean of Math and Science. And Dr. Tony Parsons, who is not new to us, but is new to her position as Acting Hispanic Serving Institution Initiatives Director. So welcome to all of them. We're looking forward to welcoming yet one more Dean in business and technology, hopefully very shortly. Next slide. We were talking about success and the labor, the hard labor and the collaboration all across instruction and the rest of the campus that results in student success. And student success comes in a variety of ways, and it didn't stop because of the pandemic. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tour. At the top center, you see a trailer. Well, that trailer is 8 of our culinary arts students who are now cooking at Cal Fire Rainbow Camp for 45 firefighters. So our students are putting their skills in practice and helping our firefighters in our community. I'm gonna go to the left. I am very proud and thankful for the work of our OER librarian, Lisa Bergert. We have been making great progress. In the spring semester, our students saved almost $500,000 because we used OER resources or zero cost textbooks in 57 courses, 170 sections, math and science, as well as personal growth and art history are among the top 5 disciplines in that area. Congratulations to Professor Justin Esteb, who was the National Outstanding Advisor. He received the National Outstanding Advisor Award for Psi Beta, and our chapter was also the recipient of the 2021 Chapter Excellence Award. So congratulations to Justin and all the other amazing faculty who have been leading this work. We, thanks to Dr. Trina Larson, we established a brand new project that proved to be very successful to inject the student voice in all the pieces of work that we did for Pathways. And at the bottom left, you can actually see a picture of our first 10 Pathways Fellows who have been very engaged and will continue to do so in the fall. We were delighted in April to welcome back our student athletes to the campus so they could start engaging in the fields and practicing for what we hope is a successful fall again. So I want to thank Dr. Ryan Shoemaker and his entire staff, as well as facilities. It was a major enterprise to bring the athletes back on campus. But again, that collaboration and that great work that we do at Mesa paid off, and we were very successful. And like I said, ready to start, I believe, the football season in a couple of weeks. And last but not least, in terms of a sampling of student successes, we as a college actually identified the academic and career pathways, what used to be called meta majors. Okay, I know, bad word, but we moved beyond that. And I want to thank Dr. Ian Duckles and Dr. Cynthia Rico. They led the college-wide process to get to achieve these. And I am just really proud of the work that we did and the work that's still to come. So still to come. Next slide, please. So what did we spend the summer doing? Our faculty spent a lot. Oh my gosh, and you know what? I forgot. Can you go back? Can you go back? How could I forget that? The central piece of the picture and the slide is, of course, the fact that our tutor at Mesa, Rain Porter, won the National Tutor of the Year Award. And I don't know why my phone just keeps on calling, but I'll take care of that. All right, so I apologize for that, Rain. We are so very proud of you. And I know yesterday at a meeting, a faculty member said, oh, she was in a lot of my chemistry classes. She was fabulous, and we'd like to thank her. So we will be able to do more of that as well. Congratulations to Rain, and congratulations to Mark and Simone and the entire tutoring program. So now, no more phone calls. Next slide. All right, so the summer we spent with a lot of professional development, our faculty-led professional development with a lot of equity and excellence discussions. I called it equity and excellence at the heart, and that was the guiding principle. As you can see at the very top, we had the curriculum equity and excellence review, and I want to thank Dr. Janet Johnson and Dr. Chris Sullivan. We spent months planning this kind of curriculum redesign. It paid off. We planned it initially for 20 faculty members. We had 32 to be exact. It was a week-long process to examine data, to look at equity gaps, to talk about excellence, curriculum redesign, anti-racist curriculum. And every participant left the Institute with a task of what was going to be changing in their classroom, in their department, or the institution. We will regroup the participants, and we will continue that work moving forward to expand it to other faculty. And to one of the things that we did this year on the left side is the faculty inquiry groups. Cross-functional from different disciplines of groups of faculty. We had actually 8 groups in the spring, and faculty identified topics that they wanted to discuss with equity at the heart. Some of them, as the one you see here, discuss social justice in statistics. Others discuss, equity grading and so forth. We will certainly continue with those projects. In the middle, you see another HSI STEM activity. In the fall, in the summer. This is fall beginning. There we go. In the summer, we had 14 STEM faculty members who took a look at all the things that they had learned through the online labs that we had offered in the pandemic, and what parts of that knowledge could we be injecting into the redesign of the labs. Fantastic, that will continue as well. And last but not least, I know Dr. Veronica Garace, Dr. Ediama Ongwachewa, and Dr. Judy Sandayo have been leading a group of faculty also designing equity-minded assignments, and we will continue with that as well in the fall. The last slide, please, is going to talk about some of our fall projects, not all of them. As I said, the faculty inquiry groups will continue. Our fantastic gallery shows will move on, dance shows, and so forth. I want to highlight a couple of things here. The OER savings that I mentioned before, well, we're continuing with those projects. We were also selected in the spring to be part of a study from Achieving the Dream to look at best OER practices. Several faculty members and I, as well as Lisa and others, participated in the project. We're looking forward to the report and see what we can learn from others and how we can continue to improve OER. We are going to build student success teams. That's the big project, not the only one, but one of the big ones for guided pathways. And again, I want to thank Dr. Ian Duckles. I want to thank also Gina Abbiati, and I want to thank Anthony Royce, who just joined us yesterday. They're going to lead the project. And also want to mention that Dr. Trina Larson participated in a lot of summer organizing and designing of what this project is going to look like for all of us at the college to engage. Credit for prior learning is a critical initiative in instruction. How we have a lot of students, in many cases, older adults or actually veterans who come to us with a lot of learning and skills, and it's hard for us sometimes to figure out how we can give them credit for that learning. This is a major initiative, and we had throughout the last few months a group of people called the Credit for Prior Learning, what do we call ourselves? Champions. Here we go. Led by Dr. Tony Parsons. We're going to continue that, and we hopefully, working with the district as well, plan to have a lot of infrastructure established in the fall. Last but not least, yes, we do have enrollment management issues and we have challenges, and we certainly feel those. But again, I want to highlight that the way to get through those enrollment management challenges is the way that we have been doing here at Mesa, working collaboratively between our faculty, our chairs, our amazing dean team, and I to look at how best can we not only survive in the short term, but really thrive in the long term. And to that effect, we have established a brand new group, an enrollment management planning task force, and also are working on some retention and re-engagement strategies to bring back our students and make sure they thrive. Once again, thank you for all the great work that you do. I look forward to a great collaborative semester. And to sum up, yesterday at the Puente orientation, one student said, "I'm a little stressed, but very excited." I think that just about captures the way I feel right now. Thanks again. Have a great semester. And it's my honor to pass it on to an amazing Vice President of Student Services, Dr. Ashanti Hand.
Thanks so much, Isabel. That was incredible. So I am so happy to be here today speaking with you on behalf of Student Services and our 18 departments, over 150 faculty, staff, student leaders, and admin, and our special programs for Black, Latinx, undocumented, veterans, athletes, high school, basic needs, students who identify as former foster youth, formerly incarcerated, and much, much more. I saw a young lady wearing a t-shirt the other day that said, "I'm on a team of superheroes." And that's how I feel about our student services community and Mesa College as a whole. Next slide. Last year, Student Services embarked upon a call to action. The call was a direct response to the spark felt around the world by the murder of George Floyd, the resulting light being shined on structural racism, and our responsibility to ensure that our students have access to equitable outcomes and opportunities to succeed and thrive. So each of our areas were called to identify at least one action step that would take place during the 2020-21 academic year to address racial inequities with a focus on Black students. So last month, we released our year-end call to action report, and this document was shared throughout Student Services, posted on our website, and is going to be distributed via DL this afternoon. So our incredible team inspected what we expected. We created space and positioned ourselves to make good and necessary trouble. Our intentional efforts shifted outcomes and experiences for our Black students. Our report is rich with data and outcomes, including intrusive and targeted outreach designed to help direct and make connections with and for our Black students. Creation of infographics and promotional items, marketing support for Black students. The Transfer Evaluations and Career Center created an entire anti-racism, diversity, equity, and inclusion plan. Our teams participated in hundreds of hours of professional learning focused on Black student success. There were many collaborations and partnerships, presentations, creation of Canvas shells, counseling, created an equity newsletter, and surveys and Black support services were folded into many existing programs. There were changes in policies, shifts in language, and many activities for Black students. Financial aid created a special check-in for our Black students to make sure that their FAFSA was complete. EOPS targeted efforts resulting in 77 more Black students being served last year. And student health services, 52% of our students attending their virtual platform events identified as Black. And they saw an increase of 5.4% of Black students seeking services. With scholarships, we saw an increase in award amounts, the number of scholarships awarded to Black students. An MOU was established with Student Health Services and an outside agency so that our students can have access to Black counselors and therapists in the community. 85 members of our campus community participated in 21-day equity challenge. Veterans and Records diversified our Veterans Association's work study staff and placements, and over 2,000 intentional, direct, and personal connections, that's emails, phone calls, and Zooms with Black students took place over the last year. I could go on, but you get the gist. This report also includes incredible testimonials, lessons learned, and next steps for our students. And while we started with Black students, this was intended to create space for us to be clear about how intentional efforts for any of our disproportionately impacted groups can lead to successful outcomes. So it's a mindset that we hope to continue as we do our work. So please take time to review this report. Let it spark inspiration of the possibilities of joining this intentional call to action in support of our Black and other disproportionately impacted students. And a special thanks to all of our deans and our supervisors, managers, chairs, coordinators, for really encouraging our teams to go deep and do what we can with what we had to make a difference in this moment. Also want to thank Trina for preparing our report. And again, thanks to our departments for making this so meaningful. Next slide. So alas, we have new spaces at the heart of our campus, right on the quad, that are going to be serving unique populations, including students who identify as foster youth, veterans, and those in need of basic needs supports. We have our new Dreamer Resource Center, which is going to be located in the I-400 building on the second floor, right across from the Mbanza Engagement Center. Some of our new spaces, as Vice President had mentioned, also include artwork from our HSI program. So thanks, Isabel, for creating space for that. And we're excited that you'll be able to see this art in many of our spaces as well. So some other interesting bits of information. We served 600 students this summer through our summer cruise program. So shout out to Augustine and his team for making that happen. We have 1,390 students, first and second year, that are going to be participating in our Promise program. We have given out over $4 million in direct aid to students using HER funds. And some of the top challenges for funded applicants include housing, learning, and transportation. We received, I'm rounding the number up, $2 million for a STAR Trio grant that is going to start this year. It's a 5-year grant. And we got over $175,000 in one-time funds for our Veteran Success Center. I might also like to note that Mesa College received the 2021 Biennial Hunger Conference's Nonprofit Outstanding Partner Award by the Jacob and Cushman San Diego Food Bank. So congratulations to Johanna and Larry for all of your work in that area. Next slide. I am also happy to share that this Monday we launched QLIS. So QLIS is a way for our students to join a line from anywhere. They can wait where they want. So if they wake up in the morning and think, oh, I gotta make an appointment with admissions. The service hours are between 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. They can scan a QR code, they can do a text message, or they can go online and join a line from anywhere. They can wait wherever they want, and they'll receive text when it's time for them to start heading over to the office. And then they can come in when it's their turn in line. So 8 departments, including admissions and financial aid, are using this service. Mesa Journeys, our tool connecting students to services, has implemented amazing, new, targeted, bi-weekly, informative, and aesthetically pleasing newsletters sent directly to students who engage the platform. So I learned last night that we hit the 10,000 assessment mark with Mesa Journey, which means that we are making many connections that matter. So we encourage you to have your students use this tool so we can connect them to the resources that will help create the conditions that matter for their success. I'm excited to share that over 300 students attended Associated Students' first ever virtual pep rally yesterday. And special thanks to Associated Students, Student Affairs, Outreach, Office of Communications, and President Lester for making that happen. I'm also excited to share that almost 150 students will be attending a reorientation later this afternoon. This exciting on-campus opportunity is designed to give our returning second-year students, many of whom have never had the chance to step foot on our lovely campus, a kickstart to their academic year. Welcome Week starts on Monday, and we have almost 70 incredible events for our students to participate in. So please check out the Welcome Week information that will be shared shortly and refer students to these programs. And we hope that by now you've seen our flyer that reminds our community that we are here for you, here for students in more ways than one, including remote, phone, chat, live chat, and now limited in-person services in the Student Services Center. Next slide. So much is happening, and there are many ways to find out what's going on with student services. So aside from my shameless plugs, whenever I get a chance, we also send out monthly updates. You should be getting one today so that you can find out what each of our departments are doing, again, to create the conditions that matter for our students. If you're trying to find us, please use the We Are Here For You flyer, which also includes a link to our online student support services and other helpful information. The theme for our Student Services Council Retreat this year was Back to the Future. We discussed our return to this new year, acknowledging though that we are not coming back to what was, but we are returning together to create what will be for our students and our campus community. We are in the active stage of transformation and becoming, and I look forward to sharing our evolution with you throughout the year. So special kudos to Student Services for all that you do. And I now am going to pass it over to Vice President Legaspi.
Thank you, Dr. Hands, and happy birthday. I want to start with a good morning, a hafa day, mabuhay, and welcome to Fall 2021 Convocation from Administrative Services. Next slide, please. So we're going to be talking today about COVID-19 and some of the reopening and some of the updates. And I want to reinforce the safety of our employees and our students is our top priority as a district. Also, too, for some general updates, the district is following all of the guidelines from the CDC, Cal-OSHA, California Department of Public Health, and their institutions of higher education's guidelines. And all the conditions are continually changing, as we've known and we've experienced these last 17 and 18 months. And as our chancellor mentioned earlier today in their part of Convocation, that we are monitoring the cases and conditions with the Delta variant and other variants within the county and locally. To continue on with some of the updates, mask policy and availability. Please wear your masks while you are on campus, inside or outside, and 6 feet away from other people. And there will be more information in the Q&A, and we do have masks available and hand sanitizer available on campus. Please work with your manager as you come back to campus. The mask will be our first line of defense against spreading the virus for those that may not know they have symptoms or may not have symptoms and carrying the virus while on campus. So please keep everybody safe, and please remind people when they forget, if they're leaving an office or if they come inside, that we have a mask policy and masks are available. I also want to talk about campus access. Please work with your supervisor and manager if you're required to come back or are requesting to come back for return to in-person activities, and they'll be able to help direct you to when and where and how you can return to campus safely. It's important too that everybody on campus, students and employees, before we get to campus, do a self-screen. Make sure we don't have any symptoms. Make sure that we haven't been in close contact with anybody that has COVID in the last, how many days, depending on your vaccination status as well. And then also too, we're discussing Sway or using other applications to help with employee and student screenings as well. And then moving along to vaccination and testing, employees, regardless of vaccination status, must complete the vaccination upload or exemption process through district human resources. And so either way, it really helps us know if there has been a close contact on campus, which way and how to address each situation collectively or individually. And then also to COVID testing, we are currently waiting for some more information from HR on how we're going to roll out testing for those that have not been vaccinated, both employees and students. And we've had walkthroughs with the company that's going to be helping us do this work. And I want to thank our athletics department as well, because they have already been testing their athletes for a couple of months now. And so we have a process down on campus that we're waiting to see how we can ramp that up to make sure that all the students that receive vaccination exemptions or that are not vaccinated and are coming onto campus, and all of us as employees and those that are not vaccinated have access to testing, and that will be mandatory. Obviously, within this quick update for Convocation, we won't be able to share all of the nuts and bolts and answer all the questions regarding COVID-19 and the reopening of in-person activities on campus. But I do want to point you to some of the resources that we have. And first is the COVID-19 reopening group discussion. And so that meeting is a campus-wide meeting. We have representatives from most departments and all constituencies, including our students. Thank you, Natalia, for being on that committee as well. And thank you, Taylor, for serving on that committee last semester. Well, our first meeting will be August 31st. Also, too, for more updates as we go, keep your eyes out for the campus forums. At President's Cabinet, we'll be giving updates. Emails from the Chancellor and Vice Chancellor of Human Resources contain great information. And also, too, the Safety and Facilities Committee will be available. And then also with that, the COVID-19 campus, it says Q&A, but we've renamed it to the FAQs. Frequently asked questions is available online, and we'll put that in the chat. The link to the COVID-19 page and resource page for Mesa, as well as for the district. And we are updating this constantly. So please feel free to reach out to myself, Jacqueline Collins, or Matt Fay for any questions, clarifications. And I think just this morning, if it's not posted yet, the newest iteration will be posted later today on that one. Next slide, please. Also, too, with COVID-19 comes some relief funding from the federal government. So the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, referred to as HERF. We've also called it the CARES Act for the first portion, CARISA for the second. Now that there's the third round, we are just saying Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, HERF. And as you can see there, we've received as a college over, so it says about $17.7 million listed here, but the next slide too, listing the minority, because we are a minority serving institution receiving the Hispanic Serving Institution designation, as well as the ANAPISI, Asian American, Native American, Pacific Islander designated serving institution. We're able to receive more funds for the federal government to help those specific populations. And also too, with that, we've received about almost $8 million, about $15 million for direct student aid. And so these are funds that the federal government has given us to give to our students directly, because we know everyone has been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. And so, as we've said in these forums before, cash directly to our students to be able to help them is important to us. And also too, moving forward, as we're going to see the HERF round 3, right? We've done the planning efforts for HERF 1 and HERF 2. We've had wonderful things come out of it, building with buddies, professional development, our athletics retention program, a host of technology, a lot of professional development, as well as PPE for everybody on campus. And so those have been the first 2 rounds. And this third round, we'll start our planning for there. For the third round of funds, that $8 million that you see on the screen. Moving forward, we'll do that this semester. And also too, with this semester, we'll take a look now that Mesa 2030 and the roadmap to Mesa 2030, our long-range 10-year educational master plan and our 5-year strategic plan have been approved by the campus and accepted by the governing board. We'll be able to now connect HERF 3 funds to the roadmap to Mesa 2030 to make sure that all our resources are aligned to our larger planning efforts, even with these COVID-19 relief funds. And then for please work with your managers and supervisors and your vice presidents when those times come out. And then also too, technology requests could be located on this website. And if you go to the administrative services tech support for these individual type technology needs. Also too, there's a worldwide shortage on laptops. And so do know if there's a request for technology from these funds, that we will need to make sure with our vendors that these items are indeed available. If not, I'm sure there's plenty of other ways that we can support ourselves and our students with these funds that might not just be technology related. Next slide, please. I am pleased to announce that this fall, either in, I guess, November, December, hopefully sooner, the Mesa quadrangle will be complete. And this has been years in the making. And normally you would see a picture behind me of what the quad will look like. But these are recently, as of last week. And if we can go to the next couple slides as I talk through it. The campus is beautiful. The campus will be here, and it'll provide an area for us and our students to walk through. If you remember, for the past, I don't know, 5 years, that there have been fences all through the heart of campus. So as we're building new buildings and making way to clear buildings, older buildings, so we can create this new beautiful quadrangle. And so it'll provide areas for our students to walk through and get to class, provide seating and shade for our students, and also to, if you can see in the back of this one, the K100's in the top right, and some of our student services will be moved in there, including the Stand Resource Center. I think most importantly, along with the Resource Center and a way to get to and from campus or to and from your classes for our students, there will be significant and plenty Wi-Fi. We have heard everybody loud and clear that that is the biggest concern and biggest priority. And so we made sure we're going to get as much Wi-Fi as possible in there because we know that's how we connect with each other, as we've learned over the last 18 months and even before. And so if I may say, for those that are coming back to campus for the first time these next couple of weeks, I've seen in the last 18 months, I've seen a couple of people on campus that have been here for the first time, and it is anxiety producing. It is weird, it is different, it is a big change working back on campus as we go. So I may ask, as you do come on campus, and if you have time, walk around, get to know the campus, get to know the campus again. As soon as we get the fences down for the quad, it'll be a nice area to go, but reconnect with the space that we've all learned to love and be a part of. And it's still here, campus is still here, it is still beautiful, and we are working on it, and it helps reconnect and recenter us with our campus. Next slide, please. Also, too, some great news. It says 2019, but we just got it last year, the Recycler of the Year, one of the Recyclers of the Year from the city of San Diego. So shout out to our facilities team, shout out to the Mesa Garden and all of those that have been part of our recycling efforts on campus. And so we received this one as well. And the next slide. To close it up, we are Mesa. And so I wanted to highlight and thank each of our departments within administrative services. And again, I would always be remiss if I do not mention a big shout out and thank you to Jacqueline Collins and Matt Fay for your safety efforts and helping us keep our planning and our as safe as we can be on campus. These are old and outdated pictures. There are some people on these that no longer work for us, work with us, that have moved on to retirement or other careers. But these are the latest pictures that we have, and I'm proud to be able to serve as a leader for administrative services, and we are Mesa. And so right back to President Luster for the next section of our convocation. Thank you.
Thank you, Lorenz, and thank you to Ashanti and to Isabel. I could not be gifted with a better team of individuals to do this work. We are now going to take a short 5-minute break so that you all have a chance to roam about the cabin. We know that's not a lot of time, but we know we've been on, some of you on since early this morning. So we'll reconvene in about 5 minutes and start the next portion of our convocation session. We'll see you then. Hello, everyone. We are back and we will be now moving into our section on our 5-year roadmap. I again want to thank the big group, and you'll see that in a minute, all the people that participated in our Mesa 2030 plan. But as you know, 2030 is a bit away. And so one of the things that we need to do is think about what we do in this first 5 years to make sure that we meet the goals, the lofty goals that we set. And really, I want to say that one of the things that we need to think about is that this is a 10-year plan, but as you know, what we do every day adds up to the work that we hope to have done by 2030. So with that, we are going to look today at the 5-year roadmap. On Monday of this week, we had a group of about 40 plus leaders across our academic senate, classified senate, student senate, Mesa administrators, leaders from our campus who started doing some of this work towards the roadmap. And so just know, this is our first time out. Nothing's been set in stone other than the things that we said we wanted to do and the ways that we wanted to hold ourselves accountable for that work. Every bit of this is about creating this community so that we can work to help our students do what they need to do, whether they're in our classes or on campus and other endeavors. So I look forward to jumping on this road with all of you. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Bridget Herron, who is our Acting Dean of Institutional Effectiveness and Associate Dean of Institutional Research. Bridget, take us away.
Good morning. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Dr. Luster, for giving us that lead in. I will give a little bit more information and then I'm going to pass it to my co-chair. So as many of you know, we've been working on the Mesa 2030 plan for about 2 years now. COVID gave us an opportunity to reflect and think about the planning efforts that we had engaged in prior to the COVID pandemic, and then take a moment to readjust so that we could accurately reflect the direction we felt like we were heading post-pandemic, as we learned so much new information over the last year and a half, and we continue to learn new information. So as we go through this first portion of today, I'm going to pass it to Vice President Legaspi, who's going to talk a little bit more about how we got here and the process for developing the Mesa 2030 plan. I will then jump in and, as a representative of the Planning and Institutional Effectiveness Committee, talk about how this connects to our roadmap and the 5-year plan that Dr. Luster mentioned. And then we will engage in some interactive activities and opportunities to sort of reflect on our own positionality within the campus and the college and how we can contribute as individuals to the overall goals of Mesa College. So with that, I will pass it to Vice President Legaspi.
Thank you, Dr. Herron. Mesa 2030 is our 10-year comprehensive educational and facilities master plan, and the tagline for that is visioning 10 more years as a leading college of equity and excellence. Just as you thought, we are done with the planning efforts of Mesa 2030, and I had announced last May that we are done with the plan. We have it approved by PCAP and the board, and all of the constituent groups and representatives are on board with it. We took a collective sigh and said thank you, and now the real work begins. And so just to remind everybody before we get to the roadmap of how Mesa 2030, of what Mesa 2030 is supposed to do, and how we got to Mesa 2030 as the final document. It's more than just the name and the title itself, but the purposes of Mesa 2030 is to chart the college's long-term course towards accomplishing its mission, again, having student access, equity, and success at the forefront. We want to engage as the constituent groups to figure out in dialogue what the future means for everybody from our different perspectives on campus. We wanted to identify current and anticipate future challenges and opportunities in the college instructional and student services programs, as well as the physical site and facilities. We wanted to connect the educational needs and to the site facilities and improvements, and also project the college's growth over the next decade. And lastly, to inform the public of the college's intentions about instructional programs, support services, and facilities improvements. Next slide, please. And so the process for developing Mesa 2030 We had to prepare to see what our thoughts were about what we wanted the plan to be, to analyze where do we see our current conditions, to frame in the context. As Dr. Heron mentioned, the coronavirus and the pandemic had put a real pause on what we thought and what we envisioned the next 10 years looking like. We could have never guessed, and we had an opportunity to pause and to frame in the current context, as well as understanding what we've known and those that collectively that have been on campus for years and where we see our campus going, and to explore what that looks like. Also too, with our facilities, to see now we know what our educational services and what we want our college to be and how we want to be moving forward, and to make sure and to explore that our facilities match the quality of the programs that we offer here at San Diego Mesa College. And lastly, to recommend, right, what are those programs, what is those goals, what do the facilities look like, and then at the end to document it. And it is important to note that this slide is more than just a framework in the process, but it represents all of the people and some of the venues that we've used and modalities to have gathered inputs, thousands and thousands of data points of inputs from interviews, from sticky notes, from surveys, all the above, community forums, meeting with constituent groups. All of it has come together to make this document what it is today. Next slide, please. And the goals that came out of Mesa 2030, and excited for the college, and again, envisioning 10 more years as a leading college of equity and excellence. As we were developing the goals, all of the goals and everything that we've decided to do and moving forward as a campus is all grounded and centered and has the overarching goal of equity and excellence. It didn't make sense to have it its own standalone goal, because every other goal that we had identified also should be grounded in equity and excellence. And I won't read them all, and you have them here. And also too, you can find them on the website, but completion, community, pathways and partnership, stewardship, and scholarship were the goals that we came up with as a campus. Next slide. And then two, the facilities planning principle is just as important to know how we want to engage ourselves and our services and our students and our classes moving forward, and what our goals are, but also too, what are our values and facilities. And so again, under the auspice of equity and excellence, we wanted to make sure our facilities are student-centered, that they're welcoming, that they're connected to each other, that we're a community asset. As a community college, we want to serve our community and be there to connect with each other as well. And most importantly, and as importantly, I think the stewardship of resources, right? To develop flexible multi-use spaces that we learned over the pandemic. There are significant different ways that we can use spaces and how to use spaces and really maximize some of the state funding opportunities as we look to building new buildings on campus. And so here are some of the projects that we just have listed. Again, we are so early in the planning phase. We just need to know what buildings we may need based on a needs assessment that we've done. And these are projects that we have listed. There's no timing, there's no schedule, there's no when are we breaking ground, when will this be built, as we are currently at the end of our Props S&N funding that we've, the quad is the last project of that one. And so these are just listed here again as projects that we will need to complete moving forward in the future. Next slide, please. And so as we can breathe and envision what the future campus may look like, we do know that there are the haves and have-nots on campus, and some of the quality of the buildings do not match the quality of the programs. Some buildings on campus were built in 1963 and original buildings, and they look like it. I'm sitting in one of those buildings right now in the A building, and so we want to make sure that we round out and complete the campus so that we all have wonderful spaces in to do our work and to teach our students and to provide quality services for our students as well. Next slide. And with that, I want to thank you and pass it back over to Dr. Bridget Heron to talk about the roadmap to Mesa 2030.
Thank you, Vice President Legaspi. As he mentioned, and I'll highlight just one more time, that it was really through the imagination, hard work of hundreds of individuals that we came to the final product of that Mesa 2030 document. And as we sit here right now, as Lorenz mentioned, the planning phase is sort of reached its pinnacle, and now it's where the hard work begins. And that's where the Mesa College Strategic Plan comes in. Over the last year, the Planning and Institutional Effectiveness Committee, for which I am the co-chair with Holly Jagielski, commissioned a task force to develop this strategic plan. And myself and Holly co-chaired that strategic planning task force with representatives from the entire campus. Again, dozens of individuals who engaged in this conversation and engaged in the development of taking these Mesa 2030 goals that Lorenz mentioned and really turning them into action items, breathing life into these goals. And so today what I'm going to do is show you the final product of the roadmap to Mesa 2030. And also, before we do that, I'm going to just give a little bit of information about how this connects to our overall integrated planning model. Again, this is a model that was developed over the last year in our Planning and Institutional Effectiveness Committee. As Lorenz mentioned, our master plan is really fed by our mission, and the goal is to develop a plan that helps us achieve our mission as an institution. The master plan is a comprehensive 10-year plan that develops a framework for our overall action items. And then that really is fed or feeds into our strategic plan, which we're going to talk about today. And the strategic plan that we developed as a college that we felt was the best sort of time period is the next 5 years. And what we did with that strategic plan is identify the priorities that we would engage in over the next 5 years, action items, or what we call strategic objectives, that would help feed each one of those Mesa 2030 goals. And where all of us come in is our program review process. As we know, we have a very robust and program review process that occurs each year. So as our program review steering committee, faculty hiring committee, classified hiring committee, and budget and resource allocation committee come together with program review, this year, we will be designing a process that aligns our strategic plan and strategic objectives to our program review process so that we can be sure that our resources are allocated in a way that we are effectively contributing to the goals of Mesa 2030. And as Lorenz mentioned earlier, that process has already started in sort of our minds. We're already thinking about ways we can do that as it relates to her funding and some other funds that are coming our direction. So let's talk about what those strategic objectives look like. So here is our completion goal. And as Lorenz mentioned, we have 5 Mesa 2030 goals. And on the left-hand side here, you will see the Mesa 2030 goal as it's written in our Mesa 2030 plan. In the center box, you'll see the strategic objectives that the Strategic Planning Task Force, along with PI, have developed as our priorities for the next 5 years. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see the college-wide progress measures that we will use as assessments of our progress towards these goals. We will be spending the year developing benchmarks that we can measure ourselves against over the next 5 years to look at our progress and improvement in these areas that we've identified are our priority. So if we look in that middle column again, we see these strategic objectives. They were all designed in such a way that they are action oriented. So we're developing, we're designing, we're supporting. And then we also wanted to identify why we're doing that thing. We're developing in order to provide students with clarity. We're developing cross-functional teams to support student success. We're designing and promoting programs and services that intentionally target and reduce equity gaps. And then supporting students' access to resources to mitigate the impact caused by technological and basic needs and security. So you'll notice that sort of language repetition of an action word followed by a hopeful outcome in each of our strategic objectives. The idea with developing the strategic objectives is that each objective would be specific enough that it would very easily translate into action, but broad enough that many, many departments across campus would be able to contribute to that action item. So for instance, supporting student access to resources to mitigate the impact caused by technological and basic needs and security. We might, as sitting where you are on campus, you might already be thinking of ways that your department or even yourself individually is contributing or could contribute to this strategic objective. Obviously, we have some really obvious ways that we're doing that. As Vice President O'Connor mentioned, we have zero cost textbook programs and OER programs that are doing just this. We have laptop loaner programs. We have our, as Vice President Hands mentioned, recognition for our basic needs program across the county. And those are things that are happening right now, right? So what we are tasked to do with thinking into the future. And I absolutely love the tagline that the Student Services used of Back to the Future, and thinking about ways that we will continue to design our campus to support students' needs into the future. So the next is pathways and partnerships. Again, this really focuses on pathways into our college, through our college, and then beyond. So we're looking at, on the one side, our K-12 partnerships, on the other side, our university and career partnerships, and then on campus, what those pathways look like. Again, creating increased community engagement, expanding K-12 partnerships, and then the first one here, you'll see developing and implementing frameworks. And those frameworks one of those frameworks that we have already addressed is our academic and career pathways. There are other frameworks we can consider developing as well to, again, support targeted delivery of resources and support services. Next is our community goal. And here, again, community really focuses on both our internal community and our external community. And you'll see in the Mesa 2030 goal language, we were very intentional with the language that we chose around inclusivity, diversity, equity. We wanted to make sure we were really reflecting the priorities of our campus and the good work that our campus has already engaged in. And so you'll see some language in here that you may have seen in other plans. We want to honor the work that's being done around campus. So here we see using technology to improve communication. Again, communication is a foundation of a community often. Developing spaces and activities and programs that support a sense of belonging, with a focus on anti-racism and historically minoritized groups. Building a culture of communication that is evidence-based, race-conscious, institutionally focused, systemically aware, and equity advancing. That is a lot, right? That is a rich, ambitious goal, and one for which we have already engaged in a fair amount of work over the last year and a half. Removing barriers to equitable participation by developing, incentivizing, and creating structures for all employees to engage in and design professional learning. And then increase opportunities to be an asset and a resource to the external community. If you go back and look at our Mesa 2030 plan, you'll notice that some of the dreams that we came up with through that planning process really focused on how to serve our community. Things like a clinic, a health clinic, things like our child development center, things like housing, things like fitness facilities, and ways that we can continue to serve our community. And the next goal is stewardship. And again, I want to thank Student President Natalia Trin for her leadership. She was our student representative on the Mesa 2030 plan and an amazing liaison to the associated student body as we developed the strategic objectives for this goal. The student voice was reflected quite a bit in the development of these strategic objectives, as the students had really identified stewardship and sustainability as a goal of their work over the last couple years. So here in the first, you see, in collaboration with students, develop a climate action plan that aligns with state and city goals and includes a timeline to reduce our carbon footprint, focuses on climate literacy and student action, and mitigates our impact on climate change. Support processes and initiatives that prioritize sustainability, increase student access and schedule efficiency by coordinating schedules. Again, stewardship comes in lots of different sizes and types. So we're not just talking about our natural resources, but also our human resources, our fiscal resources. Increasing campus understanding and communication of and transparency in budget and resource allocation. That'll be one of the prioritizing tasks of our program review steering committee and resource allocation groups. And then developing a proactive hiring plan that includes a review of advertising, screening, and interviewing with a goal of establishing a diverse and competent workforce that is reflective of our student population and local community. And then last is our scholarship, certainly not least. And here again, we see the voices and mirroring of quite a bit of language that we see in other plans throughout campus. Specifically, I want to call out today's 13-point DEI plan that really informed much of our strategic objectives, and being able to work with Dr. Sendayo and the SIDE group to align the efforts has been a really rewarding experience, and we will continue to engage in that work in the next 5 years. So expanding and prioritizing professional learning, again, that focuses on creating parity in outcomes, evaluating and improving DEI practices in classroom environments, campus activities, departments, schools, and administrative units, assessing the impact of prerequisites and co-requisites on student success, expanding the use of innovative and high quality teaching and learning and supporting practices that achieve equitable outcomes, and then reducing costs associated with instructional materials to support the elimination of equity gaps. So these strategic objectives will be the foundation for our annual planning efforts over the next 5 years. So what I want to do here is just take a quick pause as you digest much of this very rich material. I want to point out just a couple of items that in the chat, both myself and I think Beth or Gio has linked a website that includes all of this material as well as a lot more material. The presentation to the board that we gave on Mesa 2030, the full roadmap document, and the full Mesa 2030 document. And if you have the privilege of having the opportunity to look at another screen or to pull that website on another device, I would invite you to do that now, because there are also going to be opportunities for us to engage in some interactive activities here in a moment. But I'm going to stop sharing screen and take a quick pause while I pull up the website. So I see there's been a lot of conversation in the chat, and I thank everyone who's been able to respond. I don't know if we want to take a minute to bring any of those responses or those questions to the larger group. I will take that as a no. So the next sort of segment of and the last segment actually of our time together today is to spend a little bit of time, as I mentioned, imagining from where we sit on our campus in our role, in some cases multiple roles, how we will contribute to the roadmap. And so again, I'm just going to briefly show this website here. You can get to it through our bit.ly site as well, Mesa Convo FA 21. And you can see some of the materials that have already been provided here on the Convocation page, but I'll ask you to, on the right-hand side, you'll see the Mesa 2030 menu. And I'll ask you to go ahead and click on the Shaping Our Work page. And here you'll see a Padlet. And on this page, we're asked to think about the ways in which the Mesa 2030 goals shape our work, the larger goals, which strategic objectives resonate most with us and the work that is done in our area. Where do you see you or your area fitting into the roadmap and contributing to the vision? And then how will you provide leadership in your role or roles to support the roadmap? So I'm going to take a pause here and give everyone, we'll say about 5 minutes to digest some of this and to feel free to respond on the Padlet with your own thoughts. Again, you can find the Padlet link by going to the bit.ly that's in the chat, and then on the menu, click the Shaping Our Work option. And if you have the privilege to be in space, the physical space with others on your team, I invite you to dialogue with your team and respond together as well. So hopefully you're thinking, again, broadly in large ways or small ways or specific or general. of ways that you and your team contribute to the Mesa 2030 goals. In the next activity, we are going to ask you to get a little bit more specific and a little bit more granular and thinking specifically about the strategic objectives that we just went through. And again, on the right-hand column here under the Mesa 2030 menu, I'll have you click on the item titled Looking Ahead. And in this page, we have 5 different Padlets you can choose from. Again, each one representing the 5 Mesa 2030 goals. I would ask you to go through and scroll through those down the website first before you sort of land on a spot. And underneath each of those title headers, you'll see the strategic objectives that we just went through. And what we're going to ask you to do now is think about specific activities. They could be ways in which you do your business. They can be processes that you are thinking about changing or have already changed. They can be policies. They can be things that are cultural to your office or practices that relate to your space. And think about specific things that you might do to support these strategic objectives. And again, thinking into the using that back to the future theme that Vice President Hands mentioned, that offer us an opportunity and give us permission to imagine what could be. So I will give us a few minutes here, and again, select any one of those 5 goals, and then go through the strategic objectives and identify your tasks and activities in there. I will offer one quick tip that once you land on a Padlet that you want to engage with, you can click on this little square up in the right-hand corner, and that will make that Padlet go into full screen, which makes it a little bit easier to navigate. So I look forward to seeing you all in a couple minutes. I'm certain that was not enough time for you to think about how your work ties into the roadmap. And this certainly won't be the last time we talk about it. And really what you have all just engaged in is the goal and action planning that hopefully will look very similar to what we will be designing in our program review spaces. Thinking about the ways that programs connect and tie up to our strategic objectives is the goal of how we design our program review workspaces over the next year. So the very last thing I'd like to invite you to do is to click on this My Commitments link within the Mesa 2030 menu. And here you'll see ways that you can support the roadmap. And I invite each one of you to think about your commitment to the Mesa 2030 goals and the roadmap strategic objectives. And if you feel comfortable doing so, to go ahead and make your commitment, right? Identify 1 to 2 actionable changes that you will implement to support progress toward Mesa 2030 goals, committing to aligning your daily work with the goals, committing to holding yourself and your colleagues accountable to implement meaningful, equity-minded changes in your area that support the roadmap, committing to a process of continuous improvement within the area where there's ongoing dialogue about improving services and support for students, and then committing to sharing these ideas with your department and your units in order to connect these ideas to the program review and unit department goals. And then the last we have on here is, what additional supports do you need in order to engage in this work? Thinking about how this work continues to progress and how we as a campus continue to breathe life into our Mesa 2030 plan and our roadmap. And as Dr. Hands always says, creating the conditions that matter for our students to succeed. So with that, I will close out and I will pass it back to Dr. Lester for the Olympian Spirit Awards.
Thank you, Bridget and Lorenz, and all of you have had not very much time to engage with this morning, but the great thing about a 5-year roadmap is it will be with us all 5 years. And so I want to say thank you to Bridget for putting this together, and know that this is our Convocation website. This doesn't end today, and I want to thank in advance our Planning and Institutional Effectiveness Committee that will really be our good guides in this. And so you will get information from your representatives that are on the Planning and Institutional Effectiveness Committee, as far as our community forums and President's Cabinet retreats. We will be looking at these items. And so again, thank you to Bridget and to Lorenz and to all of you for your engagement today. And the good thing is this isn't going anywhere. And so, and when I say that, it's not going away. It will be available to you so you can continue to post. And thanks to those of you who did post, I saw some really inspiring things in both Padlets, and I look forward to the commitments piece. All right, well, I am going to jump into our Olympian Spirit Awards. And this is one of the times that we were able to give these awards out. And so to those of you who have won them in the past, congratulations. And here is to our new group. So our first person is Alex Napolis, our wonderful network specialist, our district tech support. He is amazing. I have certainly called on Alex a number of times over this time that we've been away from campus. And so Alex, thank you for your contributions to Mesa. Also nominated and winning one of our awards is Joe Lunsford, who's worked tirelessly as a tutor, as a lead mentor tutor, and has also taken the lead on tutor tracking and tutor data to help the program. So Joe, congratulations. Up next, Nina, and I never get this word right, but I'm going to try, Rostorowski Stoko is our classified professional for class presentations. You always go the extra mile, and so congratulations on that. Also in the library, Neem and Humera, congratulations on processing over 1,000 books to add to our library collection. And thank you for coming in every week during campus closure to continue to do this work. Mike McLaren, who I think if we were going to count the days, probably has the most days on campus. He has really been our connection to technology, to our students. If you've been on campus, you always see Mike out in the parking lot underneath the canopy working with our students. And I know that he's actually delivered some of those laptops and hotspots, but thank you so much, Mike, for stepping in and being an acting supervisor and doing this work. Also in MT2C, Kristen Krogh is just done an amazing job. And we are so happy to honor her. It is difficult and very, very hard to keep all of our tutors going in this remote environment, to hire them, to keep them motivated. And so thank you, Kristen, for being part of that. Shifting gears, also a nomination for Claudia Perkins for her unwavering commitment to helping all of us with our students' rights and responsibilities. For those of you who do not know, Claudia is also still engaged with our dental assisting program as well. She is really a remarkable human being, and recently was reclassified. The position that she's in was reclassified as an administrator. And so we are happy to welcome her to our management team, and just so well deserved, Claudia. Thank you. Also, we are nominating the entire college technology services team, and in pieces along the way, they have certainly worked with all of us, but just so I can read their names, Tarina, Val, Paul, Non, James, Carlos, and Carlos, thank you so, so very much for keeping all of our technology working, for getting the things into our classrooms and buildings. It's really been a long ride for all of us. I would also like to thank Bridget Heron and Lorenz Legaspi, and so they are also getting Olympian Spirit Awards. They have spent the last 2 years guiding us through the Mesa 2030 process, and which is no small deal. And so congratulations to Bridget and Lorenz. The last Olympian Spirit Award I would like to give, and this person doesn't know it's coming, is to our very own Gio Garcia in the president's office. I'm going to get emotional because Gio is actually leaving us. He was just promoted to be the executive assistant to the president at continuing education. And so as we wish him well, I have often said, for those of you who don't know, that Gio is the MacGyver / Raider O'Reilly of Mesa College, and is always proactive and loving in supporting all of us, mostly from behind the scenes, but he's going to be right out in front. And we couldn't be more excited to have such a qualified colleague over at CE. So congratulations to Giovanni. So as we find ourselves ending our convocation today, I want to say a couple of things. We spent about 2 years, many of us, for the Mesa 2030 plan. And the Mesa 2030 plan isn't a book. The Mesa 2030 plan is not going to sit on a shelf somewhere. The Mesa 2030 plan is really all about the dreams that we want to realize on behalf of our students. And it talks about the kind of community that we're going to create to live in over the next 10 years. And what I want to say about that is that I know that each of you, we met the other day with over 170 faculty that are going to be meeting face-to-face, in hybrid, or in some way with students this semester. And all of those faculty, all of you, and especially the faculty that we spoke with, were all focused on how they could make the student experience one that was safe for themselves, for the students, and in the environments that we're in. And in every meeting I have been in, whether it's with our vice presidents or with managers or with our classified professionals, that has been the laser focus that you have applied to our work. So despite whatever challenges we might have in resources, and despite whatever else is coming our way, as I started today, I'd like to end today. We are Mesa, and we will apply the art and science of what we know to be true about enrollment management. We will work to make sure that we think of equity and excellence, not just as access, but as persistence and retention and success in all the ways those things are meaningful. And when we say we are Mesa, what we mean is we are all included in Mesa. So I encourage you to speak up. I encourage you to speak out. I encourage you to talk to your colleagues about what We Are Mesa means to you. I encourage you to take a look at the goals that we've set forward for Mesa. And as we step foot back on campus, many of us on Monday, I'll let you know that many of us, including myself, will be out greeting people with a mask on, handing masks to students that may have forgotten one, and supporting all of you, whether you are in a home environment or another environment, as we start the semester together. We will do this with love, commitment, and passion for what we do. So with that, we will land this plane a few minutes early and give you a chance to go do the other important work that I know is in front of you. And I just want to say to all of you, thank you so much. Have a fantastic semester, and enjoy some of the other slides that we have about what's coming up over the semester. We will be doing our campus forums twice a month, just like we have over the past 18 months. And so I look forward to seeing you there or on campus if you're going to be here. Stay safe, stay well. Somos Mesa, we are Mesa. Thank you, everyone.